Ban dihydrogen monoxide. It kills thousands of people every year. Ban dihydrogen monoxide. It's killing people.
I went to Times Square to see if I could fool people into signing a petition to ban water.
It's an acid rain.
Would they want to ban water if I called it, say, dihydrogen monoxide?
Ban dihydrogen monoxide.
That is another way of saying H2O.
Would you sign this petition for me? We're trying to ban dihydrogen monoxide.
Would these ladies from Chicago fall for it?
That's crazy. I never knew that it can cause, like, tumors and severe burns.
Actually, the printout just said it had been found in tumors.
Terrible. It's good that you all are out here.
Take a read. Take a look.
These football players signed too.
Well, to initially ban it sounds good to me.
Almost everyone we asked signed.
It's odorless, tasteless.
We support a ban on that.
I kind of tricked you here, because think about it. You took chemistry, right?
Right.
What's dihydrogen monoxide?
Water.
Water. We're talking about water here.
So you're banning water? You did trick us.
It's H2O. Too much kills people.
Do not ban water.
No, let's not. But think about the dumb things we do in the name of science. For example, Congress got me this golf cart. Totally free.
Free for me anyway. You taxpayers pay for it.
And now, the man who shatters conventional wisdom, John Stossel.
The dihydrogen monoxide scare was not my idea, I must admit that. Years ago, a teenager in Idaho tried it as a school science project. 80% of the people he asked did sign his petition to ban water. And others got the same results. I understand why. When it comes to science, most of us are ignorant. People think natural is good, but chemicals are bad. They don't realize chemicals are everywhere. Our scientific illiteracy makes us vulnerable to junk science, and there is plenty of junk around. Which brings us to the global warming debate. Lots of junk there. Still, many good scientists are genuinely worried that greenhouse gases may cause disruptive warming. So how worried should we be? What are the facts? Well, let's start with a look at the global temperature report. Now, scientists have used satellites to record temperatures since the 70s. They also use data from the ground, but the problem with ground data is that it gets affected by things like hot pavement and the growth of cities. What's good about satellites is that they're far from local influences and they cover the whole globe. And according to the latest satellite data, last month's temperature was about half a degree warmer than the 30-year average. Now, it's true, as has been reported lately, that it's cooler than it was 12 years ago. We're down from the peak in 1998, but the trend is up and getting close to the modern record. So, Roy Spencer joins us now. He's a climate scientist at the University of Alabama at Huntsville. So, Roy, the trend is up. A lot of people are scared.
Well, the trend has been up. People ask me, is it warming now? And there's no way to tell because you'd have to see it in the rearview mirror. In other words, it could be that from now on we're going to have cooling for the next 30 years. We really don't know.
Because climate changes.
Climate changes. It's true that we are warm now. We may not be as warm as we were 1,000 years ago. We really don't know. But we are pretty warm now. But as we'll talk about later, if we have time, I think it's mostly a natural warming that we've seen.
But you must be a minority in saying natural. The impression I get is all the climatologists say, man's doing this.
Well, what's interesting about that is it's sort of a herd mentality. All of the scientists just figure that some other scientist knows what the heck they're talking about. Even though we spend billions of dollars on climate research, virtually none of that money goes into investigating the possibility that most climate change might be natural. Virtually none. All the money goes into the assumption that it's man-made and trying to build evidence that it's man-made. And if you pay scientists enough money, they'll find what you want them to find.
All right, well, answers like that are very unsatisfying to the people who are very alarmed and concerned that all this industrial activity, which improves people's lives, is poisoning the planet. So they want to cap it. They want carbon taxes, cap and trade, and to get that, they make films like this one.
This video played at the start of the UN Climate Conference in Copenhagen. This part of the film got lots of publicity, but the rest of the film was filled with catastrophe, too.
This predicted catastrophe. Obviously imposing a cost on the earth, on humanity.
The number of environmental refugees to more than 250 million people.
Her nightmares predict a future with deserts, mega tornadoes, and massive floods. And isn't it true? Won't we face massive floods? Former Vice President Al Gore won a Nobel Prize for his movie that warned us sea levels will rise 20 feet.
This is what would happen to the sea level in Florida. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay.
Gore said this is consensus thinking. He sneers at skeptics.
The so-called skeptics will sometimes say, oh, this whole thing, this is a cyclical phenomenon. There was a medieval warming period after all. Well, yeah, there was. There it is right there. There are two others. But compared to what's going on now, there's just no comparison.
There's just no comparison, says the former vice president. You're one of those skeptics that he sneered at.
Deniers, yeah.
And let's put the vice president's chart back up and talk about that. That red at the end looks like
Yes.
we're about to set the earth on fire.
Well, that chart right there verges on what I consider to be scientific malpractice. It's based on very little information, mainly tree rings in southwestern Colorado.
So this isn't the overall consensus of data.
No, no. You'll notice that Gore never talks about exactly what the consensus is. The only consensus is that we probably have some influence on climate. Big deal. It's not that we're killing the earth.
What about the other graphs? Let's put the next one up. This is a graph that goes back to 1,000 years. Here, it's much less dramatic.
Well, yes. Well, you mean the recent warming is much less dramatic compared to 1,000 years ago.
What Gore referred to as the medieval warming period.
You know, it turns out we have actual real temperature measurements from 1,000 years ago. They're down in the bottom of the Greenland ice sheet. When they go down and measure the temperatures of the ice as you go down hundreds or even thousands of feet, they reconstructed what appears to be greater warmth 1,000 years ago than we had today, which suggests that the ice sheet went through warmer times than we're going through today and did just fine.
Gore says we have an all-time record for tornadoes.
That's just plain silliness. I don't know of any responsible person that is touting the idea that tornadoes are getting worse or more frequent because of global warming. If anything, global warming theory says there should be fewer tornadoes, not more. And if you look at the record of strong tornadoes that the Weather Service has kept in the U.S. for the last 50 years, there's been no increase. Now, there has been a big increase in observed weak tornadoes, but that's because tornadoes, compared to 30 years ago, can't get any privacy anymore. I mean, everybody has a video camera. We're spread out all over the country.
So we're measuring more tornadoes.
Yes, we're measuring more tornadoes. And the same thing has happened with hurricane monitoring, the idea that we've had more hurricanes. It's a monitoring issue.
So when you go to these climatological scientific meetings, do people beat you up? I mean, are you a denier, an outlier who's scorned?
Now, actually, those terms like denier only get mentioned when you're talking to a reporter. When we go to conferences, scientists are usually pretty cordial towards one another.
And there are plenty of people who quietly agree with you.
Yes, there are people out there that are afraid to speak up on this issue because their funding depends on the global warming scare continuing. I'm sorry to sound cynical, but it's the truth.
Thank you, Roy Spencer, for joining us. We did ask Vice President Gore to be here, but he declined. He always declines. He won't debate anyone ever. I keep hoping the number we gave him rings this special green phone. Mr. Gore's phone is always ready. If you ever want to call, we await your call.